Hello and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes, the Story Screen Presents podcast, where we watch a new movie and then we come right to the microphone to talk to you, the listener, about our thoughts. I'm Jack Kolodziejski, and I'm joined today by two lovely young gentlemen who are rearing to go to talk about this one, folks. We've been waiting on this one for a minute. Robert Anderson, how you doing?
Hey, what's up? I'm good. How are you, Jack?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm excited. It's been a minute. I feel like I've been a little out of the game. I'm ready to talk about some new movies.
Yeah, this is a Jack as fuck movie to get you on.
It's a Jack movie for sure. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. How are you doing, Mike Burdge?
Oh, I'm doing very good, or shall I say, very mood.
Okay.
Get ready, you're gonna have a lot of those today.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
That one had some sweat on it too.
I guess I probably.
All of my jokes are super sweaty as fuck today.
I can see the bead running down your forehead there. Yeah, I guess I should be prepared for more of those. We are here to talk about a new A24 movie. You know, if the three of us are on a podcast, it's highly likely the subject matter is going to be A24. We are here to talk about First Cow, the new Kelly Reichardt movie.
Moo.
Yeah, A24 is my favorite director.
Yes. Adam 24.
Story Screen's favorite director, usually.
Usually around end of the year time. It's heavily represented.
I forget Mandy's not an A24 movie. All the time.
Interesting side note. First Cow was that was the first A24 movie that we were going to be able to book to screen as part of the limited release at the theater. Like, usually we have to wait an extra week or two to be able to get it. First Cow was the one, like, it came out on the 6th, and we were going to get it right then and there the next week, and everything got canceled down as things started getting pulled, and then a couple of days later we shut down because... You know.
Just you felt like it.
Yeah, because we felt like it,
Yeah, because this movie was supposed to come out, what was it, March or April?
Yeah,
Is it that early?
It came out very, very limited, small LA, New York only, end of April. It stretched on March 6th, and then the following week, it was gonna get its 3-week rollout where it's like a couple hundred, and then eventually it was gonna be your typical Hereditary thing where it was gonna go wide to like everything,
right?
Because it's an absolute darling of a movie, but without talking about it too much. But A24 has been really weird about this one. They pretty much, a little behind the scenes. They have this movie and they have Saint Maud, and they essentially had to let go of one of them. They were like, we need to make a little bit of money off of the rental services that we can get. Yeah. Do we release Saint Maud or do we release First Cow? And their idea was just get First Cow out there. It already played in a couple places, and then they'll hold on to Saint Maud towards the end of the summer.
They have Green Knight coming too, right?
Green Knight is on motherfucking hold. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
because they want to make as much money off it as possible.
Exactly. Saint Maud and First Cow were coming out in March when it got shut down. So they're like, we have those ready to go. So now it's kind of like, now what are we gonna do?
Right.
Green Knight is probably gonna get pushed more to like a 2021 situation. I'd imagine Saint Maud they'll probably release sometime in September, October.
That sounds like a good fall movie.
I think it also would perform well in VOD if you position it as like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, we don't know what the numbers are in like movies like Invisible. We're getting away from the point. This is my fault. But we haven't seen what the numbers and stuff are in like Invisible Man. But I think it performed pretty well given its.
Invisible Man
VOD.
I've seen the numbers from Universal on that. Invisible Man, theater wise and VOD wise, both of them did great. But it's not an algorithm to base anything off of outside of the pandemic because people were stuck at home for that first month and a half. Now people aren't doing that, and people are always going to be doing that, and you heard the thing where AMC and Universal struck the deal where the movies will only play for 17 days before going on VOD. That is just like an absolute bug nuts, greedy bullshit Scrooge McDuck fucking thing, and it's not going to work outside of this template, so there's no reason to implement it. But
what do you mean? Movies are going to be back in September.
Right.
Tenet's going to be out in September.
Yeah,
Tenet's coming, baby.
You gotta fly.
Everything's gonna be fine by then.
You gotta fly to fucking Europe to go see it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. They won't let you in, But
it's premiering in New Zealand.
maybe you can watch it on the plane.
Yeah, everybody's gonna learn how to fucking pirate movies. Like if you don't know, you're about to find out.
Was it the Scott from Scott, I think Wampler for Birth Movies Death? He's just like, so Tenet's coming out September 3rd, and September 4th we're going to hear about a really bad pirating problem of movies. Yep. It's like, word.
Can't wait to watch Tenet the way it's meant to be seen on a dirty cam rip.
Yeah. I mean, that's all they're fucking doing. Put it in drive-ins. There's not enough drive-ins. Who fucking cares?
Well, we certainly don't.
Make more.
Hey, man, we can get onto our little Moo Moo movie after this, but not a lot of movie theaters that weren't drive-ins before the pandemic were able to kind of pull some shit together and get a drive-in together to be able to keep showing movies and having fun. Nah, I'm not trying to say anything, but it's a pretty fucking big deal. Maybe we deserve Tenet.
If there's two things that Story Screen is and always has been, Mike, to your credit, it is tenacious and scrappy.
Yeah.
You figured it out. That's kind of how this whole thing got started, is you fucking dragging a screen around and getting movies shown. Mm-hmm. So movies. So yeah, let's get back to the subject matter at hand. You got to excuse us. We haven't really gotten a chance to talk about movies or the state of movies.
We're really
had to catch up,
milking this tangent.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah!
Fuck yeah. Thanks. Good. Yes. So First Cow is a movie, as I mentioned, by director Kelly Reichardt, that is about, well, it's maybe less about the cow, more about the friends we made along the way. I'd say.
Expected more cow, but it's okay.
Yeah. So it takes place. I don't know. Did they say they never really say the year, the time frame?
It's during the gold rush.
Sure.
And they're out in Oregon, presumably.
Mm-hmm. Oregon.
I'm not sure exactly when the gold rush was, but I know that it's that era. I think it's that time frame to make mentions to that.
1820s.
Is that what it? Yeah. Okay.
Let's say the pioneer era. And it's about two men who meet up, just trying to make their way, and they kind of devise a scheme to just be successful in America. And I'd say that's kind of the core little theme plot of this movie. So what did you guys think of First Cow? What's your hot take on it?
I really enjoyed it. I think that it's simple. And I think that's why it gets to have a lot of fun in this era that you live in. It's almost, God damn it, Mike. Mike made himself a cow on Zoom.
Is that what that was? You just
put the cow. Yeah, well, he wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the movie is it's very simple plot wise and easy to follow, but that's part of its charm, which it's overwhelmingly there. It's a very charming movie.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. It's a very not to use too many buzz adjectives, but it's very tender. It's very sweet. It took a minute for the film to click with me, but then once it did, I was very much on board. It almost seems meandering at times, but I think if I were to rewatch it, I would actually really like being in that meandering moments. But yeah, I was surprised by how much I liked it by the end of it, because it really does, it does period piece kind of better than other movies, and I'm not quite sure why. Maybe we'll get into it as we talk about it more. But and not so ironically so, I kept thinking I really wish I got to see this in the theater.
That was my number one take as well.
I wish I got to see it on a big screen to really, because especially I find that really quiet movies like that, really quiet slow burn movies like that, or I don't even say this is a slow burn. It's kind of just you're here, you're in this place, you get to live through it, and when you're seeing it on a big screen, the immersion is so much more palpable, and I really wish I got that from the get-go. But despite that, on my little medium-sized 55-inch TV, I had a really good time. Really liked it. So yeah, that's my hot take.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest takeaways as well. Is I think movies that are more quiet like this one, that are more deliberate and slow burny, they are better served in a place where you are less prone to distractions. I think immersion is probably the right word to assign to that, because for something like this, it can be when you're just at home and you're not sitting in a dark room and don't have the kind of like, it's easy to like get distracted by something else going on in your apartment or look at your phone. It serves that better. But yeah, Mike, what did you think?
2 milking thumbs way up.
All right.
All right,
and those are hot takes. Thank you very much, everyone.
You guys are completely right. This is one of those situations where this is such a beautiful movie that it feels really kind of disingenuous to talk about how great it is in every little aspect, kind of the same way Robby was kind of just talking about, just like, it's sweet, it's tender, it's charming. Like, yes, these are all things that are unifying, like, compliments to the movie, but also each are so very important to what makes the movie work. So beyond just like it's shot really well, the aspect ratio and graininess of it really applies to it, much in the same way the Nightingale utilized pretty much the same filters and framing for completely different points of view, or rather results.
Yes.
I think that the coolest thing about this movie is, and it's something that I think about a lot when I watch period pieces, where period pieces usually are very good at romanticizing the time period that they're in and making you live in it and making you kind of, maybe not want to live there, but also kind of fall in love with the otherworldly escape because you're just removed by 200 years. But I really like that this movie does something that I always consider, which is that these movies look very dirty. It looks very unclean, and it looks very hard back then. And this movie really does kind of rely on the idea that, like, just eating some dinner or just getting from one place to another was so hard and had so many different aspects, and just starting a fire is kind of this arduous process. And I think by taking those elements of the time period and how you make movies like that, and inserting these 2 characters that are kind of maybe not as masculine as you would expect them to be in this kind of frontiers world, definitely not as masculine or as, and all the different physical and mental attributes you would get with masculinity, be it like the big like frontiersmen that are like getting skins and stuff, or like the snobby rich people and warfighting generals, or the hoity-toity like want to start a fight dude bros of the town. Like, these are 2 individuals who are maybe just a little bit more fragile. And
they're soft boys.
And I think that it's taking those 2 aspects, the realistic nature of the time period, these 2 very individualistic characters that are kind of stick out like a sore thumb with all these people, and then also the movie's strongest suit to me, which is baking and cooking and the love of being able to take things that are nothing and turn them into something that can inspire such happiness and joy, and and the flip side of that, of people becoming jealous of that, or people wanting to take advantage of it, I think are just all these things, all these very little tiny things in a movie that just make a really good movie. And luckily, Kelly Reichardt is such an amazing director and writer that it also happens to be a well-made movie. So you got a good story, good points, good themes, and then an extremely talented person directing a bunch of talented people. That's how you get a great movie. Like, that's the baking recipe. That's the milk and the sugar and the flour and the baking soda. Like, that's how you make a damn good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and this movie, I think you mentioned it, Robby. It is fairly simple, but all those ingredients are just really high quality ingredients that all come together that make something really nice. And I think a point that you made, Mike, that I like is that it does a good job showing how hard that time was and how arduous that time was. But it also, I think, in the way that it's paced and the deliberateness of it and the texture of the movie, like, this is a movie for me that, like, the sound was a big part of how much I liked it, because it really, really embellishes a lot of those just kind of natural sounds from the cooking, from just walking around in the woods, from the crackling of a fire. And all those things, I think, add a lot to the kind of tone of this movie, that even though it's hard, there's a serenity to it and there's a peacefulness to it. And that kind of peacefulness, especially as you're watching these our two leads kind of interact, and just there are shots that are just kind of long shots of them kind of just walking through the woods, or just cohabitating in their small space, or working on cooking or stuff like that. And those like moments just feel, there's like a coziness to it, even though there's like the harshness of that frontier. There is like a kind of just like a stop and smell the roses sort of peacefulness to it that I think is really adds to just what makes this movie feel like really nice and kind of tender and cozy.
Yeah, I like that the movie doesn't feel like it's trying to juxtapose the arduousness of the times back then against the easiness or difference of times now. It just feels like it's like, this is the way that it is, and this is the way that people live, and we're not necessarily trying to make there's commentary to be made as we decipher it, but I don't think the movie is like necessarily putting it at its forefront thematically, which I think is very interesting, because that allows you to really get lost in the time period. And that's like the effectiveness. I think that's another reason why Nightingale is so effective, because you're seeing these horrendous events, but the trapping is in its like how like it's past, and the way that they handle certain things culturally back then is part of its like trapping you in that world, and it's very effective as a period piece. And yeah, I mean, this movie kind of reminds me, like, I got Nightingale vibes when I watched it, but I also got Lighthouse vibes because of the aspect ratio and because of like the dual character nature of it. Not quite as much, obviously, but very different movies.
Yeah, I like how the aspect ratio and the grain element, which are, incorporated into all three movies, Nightingale, Lighthouse, and First Cow. And in Lighthouse, it's claustrophobic and dirty. In Nightingale, it is also, the grain is just dirty. In Nightingale, it's also boxed in and more imprisoned than claustrophobic. More, you can't get out, and you are forced to kind of bear witness to things that are very real and things that were much worse hundreds of years ago that still exist today. And the graininess allows for that to supersede the film medium as well. And in First Cow, it's much more delicate. It's much more like, this is old. This is how pictures looked in olden times, with just the square, and it wasn't this widescreen or scope flat aspect ratio. So it kind of gives you an old timey kind of vibe to it, kind of like that, that video of the cowboy just like, aiming down and shooting, and it's just a very kind of old boxy shape. And on the thing, Jack, that you were talking about, with the sound, this movie does one of my favorite editing tricks, which is called front loading. So they will have an extremely loud moment before an extremely quiet moment to make you pay attention to the very small sounds that are happening in the quiet moment. The perfect example is, it opens with a huge front load where the boat pretty much rises from 0 to like 25 decibels. And it gets louder and louder and louder as you're just sitting on it, and it just keeps getting louder. This is one of the reasons why I don't like changing the volume on a movie when you're sitting at home, because you could just lower it, and you're going to completely miss the point that they did on this entire thing. Yeah. Because it gets so loud that it like starts blowing your speakers out, or sounding like it is. And then it gets lower and lower, and then you get the dog going through the grass and sniffing and scratching and doing all of these things. You have this very quiet, no words spoken kind of moment with Arya Shawkat of all people, from maybe from Arrested Development, just kind of like,
I was like, oh, she's here.
Yeah.
Okay. She's just one of those actresses that just seems down most of the time. Like, hey, this is a cool project, and you seem like a good person. Yeah, I've got like a couple of days. I'll just come.
She's been in the industry forever, so she probably like.
Marry me.
Yeah, marry me. Yeah.
Yeah, I still want to.
She probably just gets any line or any like side role that's available. She's like, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah, I want to check out that Search Party show that she's on. Did you guys see the movie Duck Butter from a couple years ago that she's in?
No, I heard of it, but I did not watch it.
It's really, really fucking good. Her and Leia Costa are so fucking good in it. It's like the movie itself is cool. It's a good movie. It's okay. It's fine. but their performances in it are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's what I'll have to go back to.
But going back to like the themes and stuff, the things about the movie that make it a little bit more special outside of the technique and everything, like, you know, movies about friendship, pretty good thing to have a story about, especially just two men in a loving, supportive friendship that is not painted with any odd colors that it shouldn't have. These are just two guys who are very comfortable with one another, have a connection almost right away, and a connection that they will be following forever, whether they want to or not, because that is kind of the destiny of the opening prologue of this movie. We see that coming the whole time.
Well, let's not get too far into spoilers yet. We're not in spoilers.
But
so.
The William Blake quote at the beginning is like one of the most famous quotes on friendship, and like the bird to a nest, spider to a web, man friendship. These are the things that we build to live in. These are the things that we use to be able to live. You know, it's a very fun way of communicating how a friendship is built, where it comes from, what it does, the negatives and the positives of it. And again, like these themes just wrapped in like a really well-made movie is just like magnifique.
Yeah.
It's just sweet. It's a sweet movie, much like cows can be. Cows are sweet animals.
Or
and
biscuits.
This is a sweet, yeah, or oily cakes.
Oily cake. Yeah.
Whatever. I guess that's just kind of fried dough, huh?
I do like that this movie proves that there's always been a place for the beta male. You know, I think we all can appreciate that here. Throughout history, we've always had a home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I thought that they did white cake, or rather milk cake in this movie, because I could have sworn that I saw milk cake in the trailer, and it's possible that was one of the ththings they made, and they just deleted it because the other ones look a little bit more.
Well, are you thinking
rugged.
of the blueberry thing that they made later? I forget the name of it.
No. There's like the milk cake is more of just kind of like an angel food cake, and I made milk. I become more of a baker in like the quarantine time. I always like baking like muffins and stuff like that, or like rolls. But I never really, I've baked like full on, I've perfected my pizza dough recipe. I've been baking some milk cake and some dinner rolls and some garlic knots. I'm going crazy. I'm loving it.
That is what they say, is that the quarantine makes bakers of us all.
Yes. So
yes.
I made some milk cake like a couple months ago, and it was fucking delicious, and I love it. But I made it because I was like, I saw milk cake in the First Cow trailer, and that made me want to do it. And then I rewatched the trailer, and it's not in there. So I don't know where the hell this came from.
It's one of those things where it's like kind of like the Marvel movies where they shoot like different stuff for the trailer to just get the fan speculation going. Like, oh, is that a milk cake? Is that what they're making?
No, they're just doing
is that
oily
where the cow
cakes.
comes in? Okay,
It's true. We don't want to spoil the pastries that are made during this movie. It's
it's
like the Infinity Stones of it.
They had 3 scripts that they give the actors just to keep leaks from happening. So. All right, shall we go to spoiler zone and talk some more about the specifics of
talk about that cow,
the recipes, and the cow, how the cow dies, that kind of stuff.
Moo.
Good.
Great. More cow jokes after this break. We'll be right back. So, Mike, you alluded to it before the break, but I think a good place to jump in is kind of how this movie starts and then how it kind of circles back to that at the end. And I think I think is just like the sweetness moment that just kind of like is a little bit tragic, but also sweet, that kind of just like brings this thing all back together. So, like you were talking about, it opens with Aaliyah Shawkat just kind of walking along this riverbank and discovering human remains that are two human skeletons just kind of laying together, and then it immediately goes into the past, and that's where we first meet Cookie, and then the rest of the movie happens, and it circles back to kind of where Cookie and King Lou wind up at the end. So I found that to be, I went back because I didn't even like make that connection at first, but to see them where they end up at the end of the movie, and we can maybe get to that as we talk about more specifics going along. But
I thought it was going to be misdirection for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, until like you really they start kind of signaling that like no, this is where they're going to end up. But I because it was in my head the entire time, and it helped kind of it makes the whole film bittersweet. Yeah, which I think is like another element of like taste, that the film has. I think that's really cool. But I did have a moment of being like, oh, maybe like these two of the people chasing them get their heads knocked together or something and die out there. But no, it is our good boys who meet ill fates.
The ending is a little bit not abrupt, but when it ends like without thinking about, or like for a moment, like when it ended, I was just like, oh, okay. And then remembered that, oh, this opened with the two skeletons like lying next to each other. So
great movie. It's really fun.
Great movie. Good movie.
The acting is absolutely great. I love these guys. Apparently, the main dude is in the Cookie. He's in Umbrella.
John Magaro.
He's in Umbrella Academy, which is a show that apparently slaps. I haven't watched it, but every single person I've talked to that actually has watched it has been like, it's really fucking good.
I got halfway through that first season.
Here we go.
Turned it off.
Never mind. Change that.
So I thought it was interesting and it had potential, but I don't think it was all there. Mm-hmm. Kind of just felt like a rehash of other like family superhero movie sort of things. I felt like, or shows that kind of did that stuff better. But
sure.
Hey, that's just
amen. You can't.
I've actually heard the second season's better. So I don't know.
Typical
trailer for it. It looked cool. I haven't watched it at all because it just hadn't appealed to me. But I might give it a shot.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not terrible. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, I think going back to like our kind of discussion on sound and like the pacing of this movie, like going directly from that opening to Cookie just spending time walking through the forest and kind of foraging mushrooms, and there's that little moment where there's like a salamander on the ground
and he flips him over
up, and like it looks like a dead salamander. I was like, oh man. And then he just very gently like flips it over, and then it slowly starts walking away. I was like, aw. And I feel that way about this movie in general. Like I just want to like wrap this whole movie up in a little blanket and give it a hug,
swaddle it a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I really like the music in this movie. It's so like gentle and like comes in very like softly, and it almost like seems diegetic at times. Like you could see like someone painting the camera over, and there's just someone on like a little guitar on a log, just like playing the music.
Well, there is some like diegetic music going on too. Like there's like that guy with the like boing boing boing.
Yeah, there's that guy. That is true.
Yeah,
I like that thing.
You know the old fashioned boing boing boing.
Yeah,
thing.
the boing man.
No, right.
Yeah. You guys ever tried playing one of those boing 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 things?
I haven't. I want one now because
it's harder than it looks.
So annoying.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
That's Robby's new thing in 2021. He's getting into the boing boing boing.
Getting into boings. I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, that's an instrument that's maybe a little too Burdge for even me. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I could pull that off.
I think Burdge, you would have to like be playing that and another instrument simultaneously because you can't just do the one.
No,
you'll have like the drum kit on you. You'd be bashing cymbals. With your foot, you're hitting the drum, and then you got the boing in your mouth.
No man, when the vaccine's out in 2022, and
what's that, Jack?
Queens,
what? Jack, what?
When the vaccine's out, not from me.
Oh, okay.
When there's a vaccine, we're all going to be back in Quins, and Mike's going to be up on stage with his boing boing boing, and we're going to be showing like
this movie.
I'm not gonna
Spider-Man 2 in black and white on the screen, and Mike's just going to stand there for 2 hours and play the boing boing boing, and that's. Looking forward to that.
The second they open up the possibility to fly to other countries, I'm fucking out of here. I don't.
Fair enough.
I fool me many times. Shame on me.
Fool me for 32 years. Shame on me.
They locked our country down. The second they open it back up, I'm taking that opportunity. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
That is not a bad idea.
Fuck no. I'll come back later, maybe, but I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, we'll see.
You can still go to the UK.
Yeah.
You have to quarantine.
I'm going to go watch Tenet.
For 2 weeks. But yeah, you can go watch Tenet in the UK.
I just love Christopher Nolan movies.
I just really need to see Mulan. Fuck.
I'm willing to.
Oh
die
yeah, that movie
for
does
Christopher.
exist. I forgot that some movies didn't get like sucked into the black hole
I'm
of
actually
time.
more just like I really, really, not to like virtue signal or anything. I really am excited about Wonder Woman and Black Widow. I want to fucking see what those movies are. Like,
I want to see Black Widow real bad.
Tenet, yeah, it's probably going to be fucking great. Can't wait to watch it and experience it. You know, Mulan, it's another live action, looks pretty interesting. I like the score. Wonder Woman and Black Widow, I'm like, what are these movies? Like, I'm excited about them. I think that they'll be good, but I'm like, what?
But they could not be, and that's exciting.
What
like, Black Widow could suck ass, and that's like super interesting.
Yes.
I don't think it will.
No.
But it could. You know?
My hot take is I think Black Widow is probably going to be pretty mediocre. Wonder Woman 2 will probably be pretty cool.
Hopefully.
That's
they both have good. They both have good trailers. So
yeah, it's actually. I was just gonna say. I feel like it's kind of nice to not be berated by a Marvel movie every 4 to 5 months. Like to have like a little break here has kind of been nice.
I agree, but I think now I'm getting ready though. I'm ready to get back in the saddle.
I don't know. I feel like I needed some time away from Marvel.
I mean,
you're getting more.
It's like the other
Spider-Man was like, no, you can stop. I finished. No. Okay, all right, fine. All right, keep going.
they fucked that
all
up.
right.
Like that's the following Endgame up with Spider-Man. I know that they had to do it. They had to do it. They couldn't be, but it's just like you just like did this whole big culmination end thing, and now you're gonna fucking talk about how like fake news exists and it affects you. Like it's a cool idea, but like you want to.
What happened to Peter's high school friends?
You want to give me a second here, and they're just like, no, we have to release it in July.
I kind of like it.
No,
I like that movie.
I like that movie a lot too. You cannot argue. You cannot. It is fundamental.
Right, well, then I will not.
It is fundamentally
you better not argue.
Incorrect.
That's what I was trying to say.
It is incorrect to say that movie being released the first week of July after Endgame being released just 2 months
in like
beforehand.
April. Yeah.
Is not like a lateral move. Like is not a lateral move. Like it's.
I relieve my time.
There's all of that. There's all of that build up. To
suck my dick, fuck you. I relinquish my time.
I relieve my time.
It's one of the craziest things, and that's why a lot of people didn't like even show up to Far From Home, and not as many as they expected. Like with your normal stuff, they were like, it's too soon. They didn't have anything in November. Just fucking fuck.
Well, because it's also like a summer movie. It's like it's
whole
about like summer vacation too.
Yeah, and Sony's like, you have to release it in July. You have to.
That
make
movie
the
also
movie
performed. That movie's performed super well.
Of course, yeah.
It broke a bill.
Yeah,
it broke $1 billion.
I'm saying it's just more kind of, and now
the big picture of it you do not vibe with, which is fair.
And it only existed last year. You will never have like, oh, now it's time to just go to the next one. It's like, because you're not forced to go see it in that kind of, avoid spoilers, you have to go see it kind of way.
Do we think the cow in First Cow has an Infinity Stone? I only know things through the context of Marvel movies. So who's the Spider-Man of this movie? Otherwise, I cannot fucking pay attention if you don't tell me.
I liked how the movie touched on the themes of trying to survive in America and having to kind of, especially as someone who is an immigrant or someone who is, has a trade sort of skill. You gotta scrape by. And you gotta do what you can just to make it.
Yeah, I like that their like relationship. I like that the movie like toyed with the idea that their relationship could be almost too advantageous for King Lu, but then I like that they kind of go back to being like, oh no, but they do have this. No,
but it really was genuine. Yeah,
it really was. Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And like you have moments where you think it could not be, and that's how you build effective tension. And it's good that they very subtly put things in there to make the audience maybe question it. But I really like that.
Right, because there's the moment at the end where like you think that they could get split up, or he could just leave with the money, but he waits around and like he's so relieved to see Cookie again, and then they kind of escape together.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think happened? You think so? They show that kid who was like so disappointed.
Oh, he
to not get
fucking
his
shot.
oily
He
cake.
shot them definitely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind, that little kid who didn't get the cake murdered those two.
I kind of read it like Cookie maybe just didn't make it. Like Cookie fell asleep and didn't wake up again because he seemed to be
Concussed.
wildly concussed.
Yeah.
But maybe King Lou just got shot in his sleep. I don't know.
Yeah,
Or he slept there for another 60 years.
I think the implication is that, Cookie died in his sleep, or even, was just like kind of on the verge of passing right there, and Lou laid down, and that when the kid showed up and shot Lou, it's all like kind of just like where things are. They come from one direction and lay down where if the kid that's tracking them was following them, he would be coming from that direction as to where Lou would be the first one there. If Cookie is already dead, when he shoots Lou, Cookie will not wake up. And so then he can also shoot Cookie in the head too with these old-timey guns that need to be reloaded. So I think it's a way of being able to answer how would they, with only one person following them, how would they both be killed at the same time without one waking up and leaving? And I think that's
That's fair.
It's a little bit more specific than I think the movie invites you to kind of consider.
I don't think the movie really
but I think
is
that's
concerned
that's
about.
kind of the quick thought that goes through your head, kind of broken down, is like, oh, that's probably how it would have happened. But it's also possible we do not see the death for we don't see it for the movie's sake and our own sake. And it's also possible that Lou wakes up and that Cookie is dead and that the boy does not follow them and does not kill them. Because it is shown that he has seen them taking the milk every night or was aware of it beforehand because he has the window right there where he can see out to everything, and he was already watching when they ran out before everybody else caught them. So it's possible he let them go and that Lou just saw that Cookie was dead and laid back down and maybe
died of a broken heart.
Yeah. Like there's these very fragile moments that are kind of like hinted at where it's like, which do you want to believe? Either is correct. Much unlike the spacing release between Endgame and Far From Home,
which is a fact.
I think I already covered that earlier. So listen up.
Yeah, no, we acknowledge what you said. I don't think the movie is like super concerned with it. It's what it immediately reminded me of. There's a Cormac McCarthy book called I think it's Child of God, and the way that book ends, and the book takes place like kind of in like a similar time period to this movie. It's like Frontier's time or Pioneer, whatever. And you follow this character who's kind of like a deranged piece of shit, who like maybe is on the verge of becoming a better person, but then like doesn't. He gets like fucking murdered at the end of the book. But then you fast forward to like modern times, and his body has become like a something on display in modern times. His like skeleton's either on display or something like that in like a science class or some shit like that. Which is like a super weird ending. But the inverse kind of happens here. Mm-hmm. But I think that's just like. I feel like you don't see that a ton, and I think it's super emotionally effective to see like, the super future of like a grave site or an unmarked grave or unknown bodies, and then to just like, put the empathy, meat and bones to make that the story. I think that's super interesting, and maybe even like a loose allegory for storytelling. Anyway, it's like we have these bones of a movie that's about to happen, and then we're giving it, it's the whole body of empathy by the end of the flick, So you really care about this grave. And I think that's like super interesting, even though like, and then you have like Aaliyah Shawkat's character who knows nothing. Even by the end of the movie, she doesn't know anything.
We never go back to her, which is funny because in the book, this is a Kelly Reichardt thing where she's very like her movie Old Joy, very Robby movie.
I know you two also really like the writer as well.
Yeah.
The writer's great. She didn't write that though. Chloe Zhao directed that.
Oh, that's my bad.
Yeah, no, I think she just did.
So what am I?
They're similar, but they're
tender.
They're both tender, sweet movies though.
I thought she did the. Okay, but she's Chloe Zhao.
Chloe Zhao is doing a.
She's doing something.
She's doing Eternals. Back to Marvel.
Yeah,
all roads lead back to Marvel.
Kelly Reichardt is her biggest claim to fame is Old Joy was one of her first movies. Great fucking movie. And then Wendy and Lucy, the Michelle Williams is back on the scene kind of thing. And then she just did Certain Women a couple years ago. All very good movies. Old Joy is probably the best one.
Yeah, I got those two mixed up. I thought that was those two.
Yeah.
Were the same.
And she's also very good. Like her kind of go-to thing is like she takes short stories and kind of takes stuff out of them that doesn't need to be there. And usually tries to write with the writer of the short story on crafting the screenplay, much like she did with First Cow. And like in the book, or in the short story rather, called The Half-Life, the character of Aaliyah Shawkat, like it's like a split timeline. You're going back and forth between them as like a friendship is blossoming in the present day, or in the 80s. I think it's supposed to be the 80s. I haven't read it. This is just something that I skimmed through in an article that I was reading on First Cow many moons ago, where it's supposed to be going back and forth like that. And I didn't know if the movie was going to do that or not. And then when it started out with that, I was like, oh, cool, looks like it's doing it. And I kept waiting for it to go back, and it never did. Like, it never did. And I was like, oh, all right.
I would have liked that movie as well, but I think this version is far more effective, having just the one timeline, right? Just having, like, the one, like, you're with these people. But I think it's very, like, I think it's an interesting choice that I'm not, like, quite sure why it's so effective to, like, having not go back to Aaliyah Shawkat's character. Yeah. But it like works. I don't have like the vernacular to describe it yet, but like it worked for me for sure.
They need to. I guarantee that they had to have shot a bunch of scenes with Aaliyah Shawkat in the. Why would you hire Aaliyah Shawkat for that non-speaking?
I mean,
I get why you would do it, I feel like
it looks like she's been in other Kelly Reichardt movies, so they might already have just like
exactly. But I'm kind of like, I feel like there's got to be something, at least one scene afterwards where they return back and they went, you know what? It's more powerful to not go back.
I think they definitely shot like. I bet you they in the scene they shot at the beginning of the movie. There's like her looking at the horizon, or her walking away, or her maybe trying to do a phone call. I don't fucking know. Like, there's more to that scene, I bet. But I'm sure, I'm not sure if you do test audiences for a movie like this, but you might. And people were just like, oh, but, we forgot Aaliyah Shawkat wasn't even in this movie by the end of it. Why are we going back to this? Like, it would feel almost like, I think, reductive in a way. Because the ending's so impactful.
It's so powerful.
It's not so give you the bones again, to not give you the skeleton again, is so much more impactful. So,
Yeah, I think this movie is a kind of like a less is more kind of thing. You know, it's a fairly straightforward movie. It, like we've said, it is pretty deliberate in its pacing, and it takes its time, and it just kind of, it doesn't need like the jumping back and forth. It just kind of is what it is. And I think all that, like, it's hard to really describe much more about this movie. Because it's just like a sweet little thing, It's just nice. It's pleasant.
Like a milk cake.
Sweet like a little milk cake. Yeah, a little morsel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more themes to be pulled from it, but like not that we need to like deconstruct this entire movie. Like the idea of like having big dreams, or even like dreams that feel pretty attainable to us. I think like if one of us wanted to open a hotel, like it'd be a weird thing to do and probably hard to do, but like it's like semi achievable. Whereas like back then it's like the loftiest goal you could have, and they're really getting there. They got a bunch of string and silver coins. Like they could definitely open something, I bet.
Well, it is an American dream kind of story
for sure.
Okay, I touched on that a little bit before. Like for them, those two who are kind of starting from a place where they don't really have anything at that point. Like it relies on them stealing to get by, to like start their venture, which is kind of like also how America was founded. Yes. Like no one in America became successful without taking or just screwing over somebody else.
I think it's about a startup. And it's kind of
a nice tech startup in Silicon Valley.
It's about
making apps,
wanting to change your position in life in a world that was completely built on capitalism, that just on a bigger scale did the thing that you're trying to do. And they outright say that in the beginning, where it's like, if God wanted cows in America, he would have put cows in America. They don't belong here. And then they're like, oh, I guess white people in America as well.
Yeah, neither do white people. Yeah, exactly.
And they just say that very quickly, and it's like, yeah, so, America as a startup, removing the terrible things that happen to do that is like, they had to steal to be able to do it. Was it right? No. And it's the same thing as for them to be able to do this little startup that they want to do with the hotel, they're going to have to steal. Is it right? No. Is it bad as genocide? Absolutely not. No. One could argue. It's something that you could argue. It's something that's unlike exactly. You see exactly what I mean. Yeah. Unlike insert joke.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But that's the main kind of crux of the push of, you have these great characters, you have this great theme of friendship that they're going to talk about. Okay, so what's actually happening in the movie, and how are we presenting these characters and themes? And that is all around this kind of fight against capitalism and being stuck in your place and wanting to grow outside of it and having absolutely no means whatsoever to do that other than to go outside the law. It's kind of what America is about to hit right now, where everybody's going to start robbing banks.
We have to. Money's not going to mean much, so I don't know.
That's true.
Did you hear about that guy that decapitated his landlord?
Is that real?
Sounds like my hero.
Sounds great. Also sad. Human life important, but also
sad that it came to that.
Sad that it came to that.
I get it,
but I get why it came to that. Yes.
I like the importance and the weight put behind craft in this movie, like learning a craft and being skilled at a craft. I think that's something that we lose sight of today because of just the commodification of all crafts now, and kind of like the human assembly line nature, not even just the mechanical assembly line nature of just like how we learn things, how we do things. Like it almost feels like, learning a thing is a means to an end, except for like there's some like fetishism of cooking and things like that we see on like American TV, but there's something very like the humbleness of like, cause like Cookie, like he has these lofty dreams, but in the now, in the moment, he just kind of wants to make the best the best cake possible. Product maybe not.
He's the artist, and Lou is the producer, the kind of backer, the businessman, the side of it. And it's kind of, this movie falls into the line of like the same, like the thing about Inception and movies that are about making movies, where they're about making art. And when you have a director whose passion is making movies, when they are making something, when they're creating art, that's what's going to transfuse in there. And so creating art, the baking is just a metaphor for creating something and wanting to be able to make a living off of the thing that you are passionate about doing. Yeah. I think it's very important that he learned this trade as an indentured servant, in Boston. Fun fact, one of the worst places in the world. And that they very
that is a fun fact. Thank you for sharing that.
Very fun fact. Inarguable.
Yeah, I can't argue with you.
Just like other things that are inarguable.
I got it.
That's like the fun, like the capitalist small business startup nature of this, from like what's being produced and what that metaphor is, and what the metaphor for the entire conflict of the movie is really cool. And like the cow Moo Moo is kind of like the muse.
It's a nice cow.
Kind of like.
It's a cute, sweet cow.
It's kind of like the muse that he has to visit every night to be able to get the things that he needs to be able to create his art, to be able to create the thing that he can sell. And it's the mystery ingredient. It's the thing that nobody else can replicate because nobody else has it. Exactly.
Yes.
So I have to stress though, for me personally, every time Toby Jones was eating the roll, I was so scared that he's gonna be like,
"There's fucking milk in this."
Like I kept being like, "No." Like
that's the tension of the movie.
It's great. It's so great.
Also, everyone eats biscuits, not like how I ever have eaten a biscuit.
They rip it up in their hands.
Because they don't have 5 more in the fridge. They have to. They have to savor this little tiny thing.
It's a good point. It's interesting.
Yes, I do. I really love the amount of time that the camera, like while we're talking about the craft part of this, like the amount of time that the camera lingers on them, like. Even just like putting out like the materials like at the market and like just individually like putting one roll down at a time, or like making the cakes right there like in the fryer, and then like spending the time to just kind of glaze it with the honey.
So he has a little honey tin, and it's not all that different. Like if you go to a farmer's market, you'll see shit like that, right? Or
Sure,
even,
sure.
Like it's cool that like it's still like the spirit of that exists today.
Oh yeah,
but the
markets, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's
what
the
a
heart of it's
grocery
a little
store
different.
is essentially.
Well, yeah, but like the trading aspect of
Sure.
it, like it's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool to see.
The Toby Jones aspect of it as well, like where he is just.
He's the corporate buyout.
There's the aloofness though too, like Lou says, like because that tension is there. Where Cookie's like, we're playing a dangerous game here. He's gonna realize
figure,
there's milk
it's
in there, and there's only
happen.
one source of milk. But Lou says to him like he knows nothing. Like this is happening right under his nose, and he has no idea, which is true.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it's a shock to him when he comes out and sees them milking their cow.
That like higher class, that person who doesn't have to do
Which is what I'm
anything
getting
for
to.
themselves.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I
That was the point I was trying to
Stole your
make. But go
thunder.
ahead. No, go ahead. No, we're synergizing here.
He's
go ahead.
so rich he doesn't do anything for himself. So why would
Yeah.
he know that there's what the ingredients are in a thing?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and-
Yeah.
He's so disconnected from that trade that he just has no clue. Even though he's got this cow, he's the one with this means of being able to make this thing, but he has no connection to that craft, and he can't see what's happening under his
There's
nose.
that great line too where he says he's so rich and caught up in his own shit, like he wouldn't even think that people would steal from him. Like it
Right.
wouldn't even occur to him that someone would be that crazy to steal from him. And then there's that great moment after they've had that conversation, and you're like, okay, maybe they can get away with this. He's kind of an idiot. He seems nice enough. They have that great scene where he's talking to the general, and he's like, sometimes if you just like straight up just fucking kill somebody, then they can't do anything for you. But everybody else learns a really good lesson.
Yeah.
And he just says it kind of casually in the middle of the day.
Just nonchalantly.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
shit, they better not find out about this.
Well, because it shows you like what these people are capable of at the same time. Even though they put on this air of like, being nice and like doing business with them, they're like, human life clearly to them is also not like a precious or important thing.
That's like the thing that's stressed in Nightingale too, where it's like humans a lot of the time are just like a means to an end, or a commodity no different than
certainly
livestock,
for a certain class of people.
Yeah, but it's just a thing. I would like to think there's slightly more empathy today for human life.
That is not true at all. Are you kidding me?
Well,
have you? Hello?
I said slightly.
Hello?
I didn't mean to say a Spider-Man Far From Home is good comment.
I mean, no, it's very good, but
the timing.
The timing is inarguably incorrect.
They won't even give you $600 a week. That's too
true.
much.
Yeah.
Sorry, your life is not worth that much.
That is a good.
Before I forget, shout out to Rene Auberjonas. This is his last film role. He plays the old man with the raven on his shoulder. Very much not in this film all that much, but he played Odo on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That is his big claim to fame. He is an amazing character actor. And he died like very recently. And when he popped up in this movie, I was like, oh my God, this has to be his last movie. And it literally is. Like, this movie wrapped and was like kind of ready to go. And then he passed away suddenly like 2 months later. Amazing character actor. He's got a great look. Star Trek Deep Space Nine is the best Star Trek series. That's an opinion.
You're not the first person.
That's an opinion.
You're
it's
not the
arguable.
first person I've heard to say that. Yeah.
Deep Space Nine.
Not inarguable.
Not inarguable. No. This is one that you can have a conversation about. There is no. Some things are facts, and some things are opinions. Some opinions are better than others, depending on the information that you have to back them up. But there are stone cold facts. Like The Last Jedi is a very well-made movie. That's a fact. Your opinion on whether you like it or not, that's interchangeable.
Fascinating.
Don't you love it?
Thank you for sharing
all right. Well, all right. So
love
you
facts
guys
and
keep
opinions.
talking about this stupid cow movie, and I'll see you later. Bye.
See ya. Bye. One last thing I wanted to just like throw out there into the void. It doesn't have any connection to each other, but when Ewan Bremner, the Scottish guy that's in this movie, he says like, "Oh, it's the first cow that comes." Like, sorry, that was a terrible Scottish accent, but like,
titular first.
I'm
cow.
doing the fucking Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at my screen move at that point. So
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's
I love it when
That's-
people say say the name of the movie in a movie. It's like good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great name.
Just like in The Nightingale when she's like, "Oh, that's the Nightingale." Remember
They
that
do,
part?
there is a scene in The Nightingale where they do kind of. She is referred to or refers to herself.
She is
as
the Nightingale.
Exactly.
Great name for a movie. I don't like the name for this movie.
First cow.
You wish it was called Boyfriends instead?
I mean, cow. They tested Cow Heist. It didn't
you know,
play
like,
as much with audiences.
the cook and the thief, the baker and the beggar. I don't want to come up with a better name. I just think First Cow is, you know, first off, the cow doesn't show up until 50 minutes into the movie. Does that
does
disqualify the title? Not at all. But I don't think that the themes of the movie really revolve around the cow too much.
Yeah,
it's a
Cow
catchy
is
name, and
sure.
using the cow in their advertising is a way to separate and stuff like that. I just feel like
but without the cow, there's nothing. You know, without the cow the cow comes in late, but you know, you can't argue that the cow is so important to the plot.
Oh, that's
of the
great. Then I
movie.
won't try.
And
Okay.
and the cow is like the alchemy like ingredient. It's the most important ingredient and item
Absolutely,
of the film. You know,
It is a focal point.
I just think I was watching.
you can't argue.
I'm not going to argue that. That is inarguable.
Please.
You already said it, so that it's. But I think that the title, I love something about the title from even before I saw the movie was I was kind of like, it's a weird fucking title. I guess I get why it's called that, but there's not a lot of.
Well, you have to also consider that they're setting this up. Like, so the second cow will be out in 2022,
Okay.
and then that'll be kind of like the Dark
Infinity
Middle chapter
Cow,
sort of thing.
It's the first.
Yeah, exactly.
Revenge of the Cow.
Yeah, right.
a new cow.
There is another.
Cow
the
strikes
Phantom
back.
Cow.
There's, the sky's the limit here. Like, I think this proved itself that it's establishing the universe, and we'll kind of like expand.
Sure, and that's a
This guy
fact.
was
That's
so fucking
inarguable.
That is a fact. That's a fact. It's going back to like you mentioned, like the first 50 minutes of this movie. I actually looked at the time exactly 50 minutes in, and I was like, whoa, we still have not even seen this fucking cow yet. But at the same time, I was like, wow, 50 minutes have already gone by, which is interesting for a movie
went
like
shockingly fast for me.
Yeah.
And like I'm usually pretty sensitive to like longer movies. And this
Longer
movie's
movies,
two
yeah,
hours.
sure.
It's not like the longest movie by any means. It's when you get to 2 hours and 45 minutes, you're just like, what the fuck are we still doing here?
And even for a movie that's just takes so much time, like just foraging for mushrooms in the forest,
It flew by,
baking like little treats, like it does. Even though the pacing is like really gentle and deliberate, it doesn't ever like outstay its welcome. I don't think.
I agree.
That's all I got. I like First Cow.
I like
A
it
good
too.
fucking movie. One of my favorites of the year. Fuck it.
I think even if you listen to us talk about all this, you could still watch it and enjoy it because it's just a good vibe, man. It's just nice.
Yeah. Well, I guess
It's out there. It's on VOD.
It's on VOD.
I can't stress how much I wish I could have seen this movie in a theater, but we live in hell, so what can you do?
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe
We
one
just
day.
got an announcement for Tenet again, September 3rd.
They just pushed it back again.
I thought December 3rd was the day.
They just like that in U.S. So they're going to release some of it in the U.S.
Let's go
No, they're not. They're not.
We'll see.
I'm sorry, Chris. They're not.
They're not. Kill people.
You're gonna
Well,
put
that's the
this
new
shit
thing.
in Fortnite, and that's just how it's gonna fucking
That's
be.
the new
We're gonna
thing
watch
is that
it in
it's just
Fortnite.
gonna have to. You're just gonna have to kill people. That's the new American way. Like, you're just gonna have to kill some people.
The American Death Cult.
It's inarguable.
I can't wait for this movie to finally come out and it just be okay.
Oh, it'll be just fine.
It's
It'll be fine.
I think it's gonna be.
Is it worth dying over?
I think it'll be just as good as Inception and have a very similar conversation around
It'll
it.
be
Probably.
just as good as any of the movies Christopher Nolan has released in the past 10 years. Just take away Dunkirk, which is a masterpiece.
The
You know,
thing
like
is,
Dark Knight
I
Rises,
can't-
Interstellar.
The thing is, I can't watch Tenet as a 15-year-old, so I don't think it's gonna hit the same.
Not for you, but for the 15-year-olds out there.
For the 15-year-olds
Oh,
out there,
boy.
their minds gonna be fucking blown. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Chris Nolan is a master at blowing 15-year-old minds.
That's true. He loves time. He's so concerned with time.
When the Dark Knight came out and Jeremy saw it in theaters, it shattered his fucking reality. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it did something to mine too. That movie.
That movie changed that boy's life. That was a turning point.
There's a lot of turning points in some people's lives where they were just like, cinema? I accidentally saw cinema.
The mise-en-scene.
What?
The 3-act structure.
Love it.
Oh, that's a 5-act movie.
Don't you love that scene where the Joker turns around and says to Batman, like, you want to learn about these 3-act structures? I'm out of jokes. We got to end this podcast.
Well, are you sure? Because that was a really good one.
You sure? Yeah, you don't want to keep milking?
I mean, we could keep milking that one. Yeah, let's write it out.
All right, let's do it.
Let's Riker it out.
Sometimes you just gotta treat a joke like a staircase. You think that you're at the top, but actually no. You just gotta turn the corner and keep going up, and just see exactly.
Yep.
You know, you gotta push the boundaries, man.
Just keep stomping on it. Yeah, of course. Thank you very much, listeners, for hanging out with us and listening to us talk about this cow movie. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you also see this movie. And if you did see this movie, let us know. You can find us on Instagram at story_screen_beacon, and you can find us on Twitter at story_screen. And you can share with us your thoughts on First Cow or any other movie you've seen. And if you would like to debate Mike Burdge about objectionable or non-objectionable or objective things, you can do it there.
Spoilers,
he'll talk to you.
You don't. It's not fun.
You don't want to do it.
No. Most
sure.
people
don't
like to lose, so why would... Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's not worth your time, but you can. No. That option is available to you.
Yes.
What else we got to plug here, boys? You can go to storyscreenbeacon.com and you can find showtimes for... Hey, we got a drive-in.
Hey.
Got a drive-in.
You got a car? If you got a car, we got some movies. So come check that out. We know everybody is missing the theater. We are absolutely missing the theater. But if you would like that experience in sort of a little different, but also family-friendly and summertime-friendly way, you can come do that. Anything else you guys want to plug before we wrap this thing up?
Listen to our hot take on Palm Springs. Also, watch Palm Springs, because that movie fucking rocks.
It's a fun one. It's very fun.
On Hulu.
Anything on your end there, Mike?
Watch movies. Just watch them. Just watch the fucking movies, man. Just cut it out. Just chill. Just chill the fuck out.
Not a lot else to do these days. Chill out and watch some movies. Why not? Cool. All right. Thank you all again. Thank you, Robby and Mike, for joining me.
Anytime.
And we'll see you on the next one. Peace. Bye.